Well, Ben, appreciate you taking time to join us for the VC Q&A series. First off, provide a quick intro on yourself and an overview of FirstMark's philosophy.
Well, I'll start with FirstMark. FirstMark is an early stage venture capital fund based out of New York. We most recently raised 1.1 billion in new funds, which we've been actively deploying all year. Historically, we've invested in companies like Pinterest, Shopify, Airbnb, DraftKings, and Discord. And we've been around for 15 years. So we've been very long on New York. The founders of the firm were very, very excited about New York and sort of foresaw what it would become in terms of being an ecosystem for tech. And what it still is today, which is an incredible bridge between Europe and the West Coast. And so that's been part of our success as well, has been sort of being in that hub between geos. Personally, I've spent the last 9 or so years at early to mid-stage startups. I moved down to New York from Toronto about 4 years ago now, or 3 years ago, sorry. At FirstMark, I do platform. So it's all the things that we do to propel our founders forward, anything from customer introductions to advisor introductions to creating resources for them to summits and events, you name it. It's whatever needs to happen in order to get founders to the next stage of their growth journey.
Yeah, great. And we'll come on to platform a little later. It's obviously evolved quite a bit since it was first on the scene, I think quite a few years ago. So, interested to get your thoughts on that kind of journey. In terms of FirstMark's approach and kind of the operational support that it provides to startups, Ben, how does it, I suppose, differentiate versus, the saturated market that is the world of VCs?
Yeah, I can't remember the last day I had like a work day where I didn't learn about a new VC firm because there's just so many now. FirstMark has differentiated in a few key ways. One way is platform. We were very early to investing in that side of the business. And there are funds out there that believe that we shouldn't be involved at all. Basically, we're going to, back the founder and sign the check and, fund them. And then we believe in sort of the myth of well, not the myth, but like the idea of this, N of one founder that just is going to figure it all out. And then there are some funds that get super, very handholdy and very involved with their portcos. And we've, I think, struck an approach and did so early on that's sort of in between the two, where we are focused on whatever the one or two most important things are to unlock the next stage of that founder's growth journey. And so we're not spamming them with things all the time and trying to do everything and tell them exactly what to do and when, but we're not, the distant cousin you never see either. We're there at your most critical moments, unlocking the next one or helping you unlock the next step. So that's one key way that we differentiate. Beyond that, I think, the track record speaks for itself. Our founder and GP, Rick Heitzman, wrote the seed check into Pinterest and, has just had an incredible run of investments and is also a regular contributor on CNBC and is regular featured at different events. He's just, a really, really phenomenal leader. Has been on the Midas list 5 years in a row now. And then our other founder and GP, Amish Johnny, was in Shopify Series A and was there through every step of the Shopify journey. And he's just, one of the smartest guys you'll ever meet, and has an incredible track record of sort of helping his founders unlock that next step, just sort of seeing around all the corners and having a sixth sense for that sort of thing. So I think, we've got the team, we've got the track record, and we've got everything we do on the platform side that differentiates what we do at FirstMark.
And honing in on that platform side, I read one of your kind of articles on LinkedIn. I think it was posted a few months ago. You described the platform as a VC's customer success. I think you mentioned. How does, I suppose, your platform really help your portfolio, to put it simply, to scale and to grow?
So the reason I described it as customer success is twofold. One, because I just came off being head of marketing at a customer success company. So I've been in that world a long time. Previous to that, I led customer success at a health tech company. So it's a world I know very well and I love a lot because I love the approach of, while there's a lot of debate about customer success and whether it should be needed or not, I think at the end of the day, having a team that is dedicated to unlocking value over time and increasing value over time for your customers is always a good thing. As it relates to platform, the way I described it was, in customer success, your job is to understand what the customer needs,
Right.
what value they're looking for, and then do whatever it takes to help them achieve it. And I realize that sounds vague, but that's because it is, because sometimes a founder needs an intro to a very specific person at a very specific company. And so I have to figure out, what's our warmest path in and how can I help make that happen? But sometimes they need that next talent hire, or they need a guide to figuring out what their FP&A tool should be. In which case I then need to tap into my CFO network. And so that's really what it comes down to. It's a vague concept, but essentially it's about knowing where they are at A, knowing where they need to get to a B, and then putting all the right pieces in place so that when that need comes up, or when you source and uncover what that need is, you have the tools to facilitate it.
I mean, what are your thoughts around metrics and the performance of a platform? There's been various heads of platform, many of which you probably know in the New York area and further beyond, who are kind of looking at particular metrics to really measure the impact and success of a platform, and that encompasses partner, LP needs, expectations, and tying that all in so that there is a real value proposition aligned to the platform. Yeah, do you think that metrics should be used to really measure the impact of a platform?
You have to, but I don't think. But I've seen lots of folks over-index on metrics, and I think you have to measure the right stuff, and that's always the question, because there's so much you can measure. And I've talked to people where one of their metrics is like the number of events that they run in a given year, and I track that, but that has no specific outcome. Our LPs don't care if we ran 100 events. What they care about is, did those events drive value for the portfolio? And so I like to keep the metrics as few. I like to track as few metrics as possible, but as high impact as possible. That's sort of the Venn diagram that I'm looking at when I think about what I track and what I report on. So it's just about figuring out what the right things are that are the leading indicators of future success and future value creation for that company. That, and then the anecdotal stuff helps a lot. I'd rather have 3 core metrics and then a slide or a few slides that are just full of founders saying like, this was the most helpful thing, and you're the favorite on my cap table, and you saved us so much money with this intro, or you unlocked all of this revenue by setting us up here. That kind of stuff says a lot as well, especially in this business, which is fundamentally a people business and a relationship business.
Yeah, and I suppose it is very difficult to see the impact of the platform immediately, because that introduction, as you mentioned, could be our benefit a year, 2 years down the line. So, generally speaking, it's creating that. I think community is obviously a very big word in the VC world, but even more so in the platform space, because you're bringing people together, you're getting them to network, you're introducing them to other partners, right? And therefore that kind of partner strategy is really important. On that kind of partner strategy side, Ben, is there I suppose, a common kind of pain point for startups within your portfolio right now outside of funding that you're kind of trying to address with the partnerships that you have?
Our portfolio varies so much, right? Because we have a consumer portfolio and gaming and healthcare and ML and AI and enterprise and like all of these different things. And so, the problems or the challenges are so unique to each founder and each company. One of the ones that I was speaking with one of our partners about the other day is just at the early stage, distributed teams. How do you build culture? How do you build a high performing distributed team? That's one common thread when we look across. There are certain things that are evergreen, right? When you think about comp, when you think about comp versus equity, or whether to use a talent partner, or whether to use a PR firm or not, or whether to go distributor, whether to relocate to New York. That's always a big topic of conversation. We love when we can pull people to New York, and we think and we have seen it be very beneficial for companies. So there are some sort of macro company building things that are
Yeah.
evergreen, I would say, in terms of how we help folks. But when you get into the really nitty gritty, like, oh, I need to solve this thing to unlock this next major chapter, usually those are very individualized.
And the platform, I suppose, is only as good as, some would say, the partnerships that you have externally. There's a lot of people that want to partner with FirstMark for obvious reasons. How do you go about selecting the right partners? Do you do certain kind of due diligence, or is it purely their track record within the startup ecosystem?
For sure. I mean, the partners that I spend time with and spend time on are generally ones where they're already being used by our portfolio companies.
Mm.
So, if it's a practice like yours, then to know which of our portfolio companies are your customers and are ideally happy customers, that's a very strong signal for me to be like, all right, we should spend more time with them.
Yeah.
Versus if it's someone I've never heard of and they're not being used by any of our portfolio companies, or they haven't had good results with our portfolio companies, that's a negative signal. What sort of best in class folks do, and in terms of people who want to partner with us, they proactively send us, here are the companies in your portfolio we're working with, here's what we're best at, and here's our special offer for your companies. Because anyone can go sign up for your product. Why should I care about adding you into our database and telling our partners and potentially our founders that we have this partnership? Some of that's obvious, like cloud credits and things like that. We love that. That's a huge value right away, easy. All of our portfolio companies need that. But I get pitched all the time by different products and services where I don't know if anyone's using them. I don't know if anyone needs it, or what they're offering is kind of just like the same as what's available on their site, or it's something where I know that I would easily just be able to negotiate this myself for my own company at any point. So what's sort of the unique reason why I should devote extra time to promoting a certain partner? That's sort of those are sort of the buckets that best in class partnerships folks cover when they reach out to me about partnering with FirstMark or our portfolio companies.
Coming into, I suppose, going on to the founders and the leaders across your portfolios, Ben, obviously some of these founders are first-time founders. Even if they're second or third-time founders, there's still a need to develop them and progress them, let's say. How does FirstMark go about doing that? And I suppose making them better leaders of the future.
What we like to do, I'd say, zooming out, our approach is a choose your own adventure. In a very specific level, if our partners back a very junior founder, they'll probably mentor them a little bit, and they'll take a bit more of that approach in their interactions with them, assuming that's what the founder wants as well. And so that's a very case by case basis. But as a firm, we like to do a very choose your own adventure kind of thing, because every founder is different and sort of knows what they want and need. So between our summits and our communities and the resources we create, our founders are free to engage with as much or as little as they want, as they deem helpful or as they deem necessary. And we see more than enough engagement to justify, okay, clearly this is helping and this is leveling them up, so we should keep doing it. But we never want to make it you have to come to founder school and it's every other Monday for the year, and like that just feels like a negative experience as a founder. Versus we want to just have everything offered up and let you pick what's most important for you at that given moment. The other thing we do is that I think is different and unique is that we don't just support and mentor founders. We build systems to support their entire founding team and their executive leadership team one layer below, which is why we invest in communities for product leaders, for revenue leaders, for marketers, for earlier stage, for later stage. If I'm hosting an event actually in 2 hours with a couple of public CMOs who are phenomenal. And, some of our founders, they all got the invite, but some of them reached out and said, hey, I can't attend, but my head of demand gen is working on this right now. Can they attend? And then I'll just add them to the invite, and that's perfect. So we like that. That's the kind of stuff we love to see, because we don't just want to have the relationship with the founder. We don't just want to be supporting the founder who, let's face it, has the smallest amount of free time, the most care on their shoulders and all this stuff. We want to be supporting their executive team as well. And we've found that works incredibly well.
And obviously you do a lot of community events throughout the year, as you highlighted there. How much of a kind of mentor approach do you take as well? Oh, you mentioned at the start, all these businesses that you're kind of part of, invested in, amazing businesses that have scaled and grown. And I'm sure the founders of those businesses have also learned a lot. How often do you pair a kind of an earlier stage founder with someone from a latter stage who's kind of been through the challenges?
It's a case by case thing. And,
Yeah.
so Rick, Amish, Matt Turk, and Adam Nelson, our partners, they all have great relationships with their late stage founders, their early stage founders. And, when they see the right opportunity to connect founders about the right issue, they make that intro. I'm not a big fan of formalized introduction programs because I think it can, I just think it can be a negative experience. And I think it's way more powerful when it's a early stage founder. Hey, we know you're trying to unlock this founder who's 3 years ahead of you went through the same thing and unlocked it. And we know them and love them as well. So why don't I connect the two of you to have a discussion about this rather than, hey, it's your monthly intro between these two people, hope you have a great chat, which just, will lead to more disengagement, less powerful, all that stuff.
Yeah. And looking at the world outside of your portfolio, there's a lot of challenges right now for companies, as you know, raising funds. And, there's a lot of noise to get through to make themselves heard and stand out from the rest. What advice would you give to a founder right now, Ben, who wants to get FirstMark's investment?
Specifically with FirstMark, if you want Matt Turk to invest in your AI company, follow him on Twitter. Come to our data-driven events in New York. It's an open event we do every couple of months that brings together the absolute best speakers in AI ML, world-class founders and researchers for an audience of about 250, 300 people. So, come to data-driven, listen to the MAD podcast, read what he's writing at mattturk.com, really get into his head and same with Adam Nelson and same with Amish and same with Rick, because VCs generally are not shy about what they're looking for. And so, Adam, who does all of our prop tech, fintech, insurtech, most of our prop tech, fintech, vertical SaaS, he publishes, with the last few companies that he's backed, he's published a why we invested or why we got excited. And so you can literally see the things that got him excited about the past 5 companies he backed. Therefore, okay, here's what he's looking for, and I can just check those off. And then I can literally, if it were me, I'd be like, here, remember when you posted these 5 things? Well, here's what we're doing and why we check all of these boxes and more. Would love to chat. That kind of thing, send their own words back to them. You can watch Rick, on CNBC or his panels online, and same with Amish. So I'd say get to know each person really well. Understand exactly what they're looking for and their criteria, what they look for in founders. Look at their top positions, look at the other companies they've backed and glean what those founders are like, understand those founder journeys, understand the background of the firm, where we come from, why we do what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, great advice. If you weren't in venture capital, Ben, obviously I know you've had a very different past before FirstMark. What would you do?
Well, my husband is actually a fashion photographer here in New York, and I work with him a lot on various shoots and things, managing production and all the technical aspects of how we shoot, which is a little unique. And so, that's what I'd be doing, and that's what I'm hoping to be doing in the future, is just full-time photography. I absolutely love it. I love shooting on film. I love all the darkroom stuff. It's such a therapeutic, creative, but like hard work endeavor. So like that's what I would do.
One final question: any particular podcasts or books that you're reading right now, or kind of listening to that you'd throw out there that founders might find useful?
I think my favorite one, my patriotism will show, but is a Canadian one, the Monk Debates. Monk Debates will host incredible speakers, authors, thinkers, researchers on the most important topics of the day. Sometimes live in Toronto at Roy Thompson Hall, sometimes just on the podcast. If you're someone who wants to know sort of what's going on and have a data-driven way to think about it, Monk Debates podcast sort of gives you, a really fair and well-researched both sides, whether it's the wars going on, whether it's politics, whether it's, healthcare stuff, whether it's housing market. Like, they'll bring in people who are very smart, well-researched, representing both sides. And then what I like is they actually have a winner, because they'll poll the audience beforehand to see what people think. And then they'll poll the audience after. And then whoever changed the most minds wins the debate. I love debates. I could, if I had more time in the day, I'd be putting out a whole debate series. So maybe in the future, FirstMark will do
That's
that.
awesome, Ben. Appreciate your time. Have a good one, and I'll speak to you soon.
You too.
Take
Talk
care.
soon.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.